So first, I kind of wanted to explain my background with MR2s and why they're one of my favorite cars. So back in the day, my roommate bought an 86 MR2 for a project car. It was red. He bought it for like $500. It was really beat up, just sitting in this dude's yard in Biddeford, Maine for years. Everything, all the suspension, all the bushings were smoked, but it did run. It had a somewhat clean chassis, which is very rare in the Northeast. And it was a great basis of a project car. So at our apartment at the time, we didn't have a garage. So we borrowed my mom's garage at this really crappy apartment that she had. And it was this like dungeony, just beat up basement of a thing. And it was disgusting. But it was a place where we could do work. And it was a really cool place where we could just take a project car and tear it apart and not have to worry about our landlords, calling us and complaining, or our neighbors complaining. So it was really cool at the time. We replaced all the rubber bushings in the car, found some brakes from a newer MR2 that were compatible, so it had slightly bigger brakes than factory. So we swapped that on, and that was when he did his first ever track day, and I was there at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Loudon, New Hampshire. So it was really cool. It worked awesome. It was super lightweight. It ran great. Started to develop a exhaust leak in the manifold. So the manifold had cracked. So we replaced the manifold and put an HKS catback exhaust. Nate did some hill climbs with the car. It was really good. It was awesome. And then on one day coming back from a hill climb, the head gasket had blown on the way home, and we barely made it home. So that was kind of a good time to reevaluate doing an engine swap or boosting another 4AGE or whatever. So Nate had decided he wanted to do a 3S GTE swap from a second gen MR2. So at the time, we found one that was totaled. They had hit a semi truck that was parked on the side of the highway, and that sucked. But what was cool about that was that being a mid-engine car, the engine was fine and we could drive it. So we drove the car briefly, verified that the engine was strong, the transmission shifted good, everything was good. So it was a good basis of a donor car. So at the time, he bought that for like $1,200. So we had done the swap, stripped the whole car down to a bare shell, sanded everything, painted everything, redid a couple other things on the suspension, ground control coilovers, swapped it in, and it was awesome. So it took a while to work out a lot of the bugs with the engine, but I think Nate only had it for about a week, where he was able to do full power pulls in the car. So we had welded the engine mounts, because at the time there was no swap kits for a 3S GTE into a Mark 1. You had to fabricate your own mounts. So we had made engine mounts out of plate steel. So we welded it so the angles were at too aggressive of an angle. The axles were at too aggressive of an angle. So it would wear out the inner CV joints prematurely and break. So Nate had upgraded them to like some drive shaft shop axles, but it still was just too aggressive. The car drove kind of weird. Nate was on his way to moving to California. He decided to just scrap the project and sell it. So we never really got a chance to see that car, to its full potential. So around the same time, another one of my roommates had bought an 86 MR2 for a couple $100 for a project once again. He had a lot of stuff going on, so I ended up buying that car from him, and it was my daily for a while, and that's when I really fell in love with the MR2. So I had been helping Nate out with the project and researching stuff, and I had been on the forums. I'd been, part of like the New England MR2 community, learning about my car, learning about his car, doing the swap, and it was just one of my favorite communities of any car group that I've been a part of. They're really smart, nerdy, passionate people. There's not a lot of them out there, so it was just kind of this really cool like niche community. So I've always loved that about MR2s, and I've always had a soft spot for MR2s since then. But my car, it was kind of clapped, it was beat up, but it was my daily for a while. And I had driven the car on a frozen lake, so I'd done a little bit of ice racing with the car. Really got a good, got really familiar with mid-engine cars and how they handle. And that's also one of the things that I love so much about these cars, is that, there's just nothing quite like mid-engine cars. Like from a physics standpoint, all the weight being towards the center of the car, it just rotates through the corners so much differently and so much better than most cars. So, oh wow, the guy just yelled at me, and I'm doing 40 miles an hour. That's funny. So this thing looks fast, even though I'm not going fast. But anyways, I had loved that car, but it was just way too rusty. I ended up selling that thing. But there was a guy on the forums that had a second gen MR2 that he had raced with the SCCA. So he had made a post about needing some help, someone like on his crew as a mechanic. So, you know, the guy, I'd never met the guy before, but me and my friends went out to the track and spent a whole weekend helping him with the car during this wheel-to-wheel improved touring race that he was doing. And the guy like paid for all of our food, and it was this really cool experience. The guy was super nice. It was an NA-SW20. So another example that I had was I had started working at this independent shop called AutoWorks, and a car friend from way back in the day had also worked there, and he bought a really clean turbo second gen MR2. So I'd kind of helped him out with that project as well, trying to diagnose an overboost condition. I had gotten to drive the second gen MR2 for a while, and the second gen MR2 is probably my favorite as far as looks and power goes, but it feels a little bit more of like a GT car. So this ZZW30 is the closest to what my Mark 1 MR2 was. It was lightweight, raw, agile, very tight steering and everything like that. So from like a driving dynamic and a chassis standpoint, it feels very similar to the AW11. But the SW20 I love as well. It just feels a little bit more of like a GT car. So this car I think is going to appeal to a really wide range of people. Like, even if you're not trying to be some track star, if you want like a really unique, affordable car that has an open air experience, I mean, this is something that you should not sleep on. It's super simple. Like, the build quality, everything is really good. It's stupid reliable. I mean, it has the same engine that's in like a Toyota Camry or a Toyota Corolla, so it's really easy to get parts for. And, you know, dynamically, I don't think it's as good as a Miata. It's not a double wishbone car, but that doesn't mean that you can't set it up right and also have a pretty gnarly track car with a wide range of things you can do with it. You know, there's people 2GR, V6 swapping these things, K swapping, 2ZZ swapping, turboing the stock 1ZZ. I mean, this is a really great platform, and I don't think it's going to be a lot longer that these things are going to be readily available where people can just snatch them up for decent prices. Like, you know, they're already starting to go up in price because people realize how much of a cool car this is. And, you know, stock form, it doesn't look the best, but it doesn't take a lot to really make it look pretty cool. You know, but it's hard to find a good example. Like, typically the only ones you see are like bone stock owned by some old person, and they're just kind of ugly, or like riced out, or it's like a full race car. So there's not a lot of people in the US that are doing really good things aesthetically with these, but you know, that doesn't mean that you can't kind of make it your own. So I think it's a great car. It's super raw, visceral, rewarding to drive. Does the stock engine need some more power? Yeah, it does, but it's torquey enough for a 1.8. It's just, you know, certainly a momentum car. It's not that much different than a stock Miata in the sense of like power to weight. But yeah, awesome car. Don't sleep on them. And if you're curious about getting one, I think you should really think about picking one up.